Welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood, and I have my husband John here with me on the show today. Hello, love.
Hello, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So this is our New Year's special.
Yeah, you can tell by the decorations on the set.
Right.
Yes.
We want to start out today. Well, today's kind of different.
Yes.
We want to kind of vision cast, so to speak.
Usually we talk very specifically about specific projects, about what is happening right now or just recently. But
Right.
today we're going to kind of step back and take a big picture and do some vision casting, some dreaming. You know, it's the end of the year.
That's right. And as we look into the new year, we want to look at new opportunities that the Lord is opening before us, opportunities for expansion
Yep.
of current projects, as well as new needs that we've been seeing more and more of.
That's correct, yes. As we move into God's work, it seems as though new opportunities are opening. So we just kind of want to step back and look what's going to happen in this new year. It's kind of like New Year resolutions, but it's more like New Year, I guess you could say New Year's resolution to follow God's will.
Right.
As He
Because
opens the
even
door.
though these are things that we see right now that need to be done, or that the Lord seems to be directing us toward, He can change our direction.
Yes.
He can multiply our direction. I mean,
It's all
well, we'll
about
be
Him.
talking. We'll be talking about some
You know,
of
it's
this.
kind of a challenge when your silent partner God is omnipotent, to know how to plan,
Right.
you know, because
Right.
He's much bigger than we are.
Right.
And so by faith we claim the promise that this gospel will be preached in all the world. If we look at it from a human point of view, that's going to take a long
Impossible.
time.
It's impossible.
But if God says it, it's going to be done.
Right.
Just a matter of, am I going to be a part of it?
Right.
And I want to be a part of it.
Right. So we want to first start out with just kind of a pictorial or a video look at an overview of many of our projects.
Yeah, what God has done this last year.
Okay, well, let's start with that.
Okay. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's really always inspiring to
Yeah.
see the different pictures from different projects all mixed in together and
Yeah.
kind of an overview of Jesus for Asia.
Yeah, the next thing we have is kind of a overview also, but it has more space for all of our projects. And so this is where we keep a list of all of our projects. We just go to jesusforasia.org, and then we click on, in the upper right corner, it says list of projects. And then we can scroll through and see all of the projects that we have. And you know, we always say we have over 40 projects. I counted today, and we have over 50.
Okay.
So God continues to expand the work that He's placed in our hands,
Right.
which is exciting but daunting.
Yes, very.
But God is in control, not us.
He is.
So we can place it back in His hands and sleep well at night.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to worry and stress out.
No,
It's a blessing.
no. God isn't stressed.
Right.
God's not stressed. He's not surprised by, the end of time.
Right. It's not like He got here and decided, oh, whoops, I forgot to plan for it, or I forgot to budget for it, or I forgot to put people in the right places for it. I forgot that I'd need a certain number of angels.
Right.
You know, it's always been His plan.
Yeah,
So-
from the foundation of the world.
So we don't know the day or the hour of His coming, but we do know that it's getting closer and closer.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of people out there that don't know Him yet.
Yeah, and we're going to look at that today.
Right. And so first we want to talk about vision casting. We've used that term already in the show. And what is it? I mean, it sounds kind of intimidating, actually.
Well,
So what is it? Break it down for us.
Yeah, Proverbs says that without a vision, the people perish. And a vision is kind of like a direction, a goal, something that's not there yet, something that's not materialized, but it's an idea. It's the first step in creating something. Vision casting is kind of like we're throwing out these ideas, these visions,
Of what's possible,
What's
of what's
possible.
available, what we
Exactly.
see right now.
what we'd like to see happen, and just sharing kind of like from the heart of what we see as this year could bring. 2017 is a brand new year. God can do amazing things this year.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Well, let's start out first with the unreached people, because that's
Yes.
part of our vision for Jesus for Asia from the very beginning.
Yes. Well, an unreached people group is a group of people that are separated from other groups of people either by linguistic barrier or geographical barrier or political barrier. So like you may have one group of people that speak the same language, but they're in different countries and they can't go back and forth easily. So if you plant the gospel in one people group, it doesn't easily jump over to the other.
Right.
So in the world today, there's about 16,000 people groups. And there's about 41%, about 6,000 of those people groups don't have access to the gospel
At all.
in their language. Some of them are completely unreached. There's no Christian, there's no resources, there's nothing, no missionary. Some of them have like 1 to 2%. So such a small amount of Christianity that the average person growing up in that culture can live his whole life without ever hearing the name of Jesus Christ, without ever hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ, and without ever knowing a Christian, ever meeting a Christian their entire life. Just no clue that Christianity exists.
We in North America don't relate to that very well.
No.
Okay, well, let's get started with a map.
Yes.
Now, what is this map?
This map is a map of the Southern Asia Pacific Division, one division in our church, broken down by language. Broken down, you know, we hear about church growth by country, but this is a map that breaks it down further by language. The red represent language groups or people groups with that specific language that we have no active SDA work, no known believer, no church, nothing happening in those languages.
So this is one of our divisions.
Yes.
And there's a lot of red on that map.
A lot of red. Yes.
That could be very discouraging.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's hope, isn't there?
Oh, there's a huge amount of hope because you think about it. In this one division, there's about over 1,200 languages that are unentered at all. And yet there are 1.1 million church members, Seventh-day Adventist church members in North America. What if 10% went? That'd be 110,000 people. All of a sudden, 1,200 languages is not a big deal.
That's right.
Or what if 1% went? You know, that's 11,000 people. You know, that's like almost 10 people for each language.
Yeah,
So all we need is a revival in missions.
that's right.
That's all it takes.
Okay. So you're talking about a revival for mission with people.
Yes.
What about giving for mission, especially for the missions that reach the unreached?
The statistic is that over 90% of all Christian giving worldwide, of every denomination, all Christian giving goes to minister to the 7.5% that speak English. So North America, Europe, parts of Europe, and Australia. We tend to give to ministries that minister to me, to us. And so the unreached are kind of left out in the cold.
Okay, so like if someone gave $100, how much of that would end up going to the unreached?
Somebody put $100 in the offering plate. Maybe half of a penny would go towards reaching the unreached, which is sad because that's one of our primary tasks
Right.
as a church, as an organized church,
Right.
is to spread the gospel.
The rest goes to maintaining
Yeah,
what's already there, and
Yes, keeping the lights on, keeping pastors in the churches, keeping resources.
which is important also.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And we're not trying to say that that needs to stop so that others will start. What we're doing here needs to be imported or exported over there.
There's a need for more.
Yeah, exactly. Share what we're doing, not stop what we're doing, but share what we're doing with those that don't know we can do that, don't know that we can worship God in praise, don't know that there's a Father that's worthy of praise and honor in our lives. So sharing that with others. And it's like Lazarus at the gate of the rich man in Luke chapter 16. You know, it's just begging for a crumb off the rich man's table. You know, right now about 20 times what goes into missions goes into our local church budget. So in other words, what we spend on the local church budget is 20 times larger than what we give in missions. And then what goes into missions, just a fraction of that goes to reach the unreached. A lot of that goes to continue maintaining what we've already established, which needs to be maintained. So instead of taking some of what we need to maintain what we've established away to go to the unreached, we should give extra, and that should go to reach the unreached.
Right. We need to continue because we want to introduce our viewers to an unreached people group.
Yes.
So let's take an overview look at some unreached people group maps.
Right. If you're interested in learning more about the unreached people groups, you can go to joshuaproject.net. And that's an evangelical ministry that focuses on measuring the progress of the gospel through the world.
Okay.
And so we downloaded, they have a packet of place marks that we can put into Google Earth, and then we can see where all these unreached and reached people groups are throughout the world.
Okay, so the first video is?
Coming into Asia.
Okay. Wow. So each of those dots represents a people group.
Yes.
But not necessarily reflecting the area of that people group or the size of that people group. It's just a dot in where they're most likely concentrated.
Kind of the center of that
their
people
location.
group. Yeah, so that people group may cover all of India, for instance, but just have one dot.
Okay.
And now some of these dots could represent 300, 600 million people. Other dots may represent 50,000.
Okay.
So that
so it doesn't, the size of the dot doesn't
Right.
reflect, because all the dots are the same size.
Exactly. But the color of the dot makes a difference. You'll see some green dots, some yellow
Okay.
dots, and some red dots.
Okay.
And the green dots are people groups in which the church is thriving and flourishing. Now, this is not the Seventh-day Adventist Church only. This is all churches.
Okay, all Christianity.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And so the red dot is the unreached.
All right, so here's the unreached in India.
India has the highest number of unreached people groups in the world for one country, over 2,000 people groups. You can see the names popping up of each of those people groups. India has so many people groups because they're separated by caste, and they're very deep separations. So you can see this is one looking at just one area, and we're going to come back to this because there's been some calls for churches being built on property that we've already purchased, that the church has already purchased in this area. We'll come back to that.
Okay. All right, so the next one is South India.
South India is where we have our orphanage, and there's quite a bit of work there, but as you can see, there's still a huge amount of work to be done, which can be done if we just go in and do it.
Right. All right, and the next one is?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. Indonesia was on the map that we saw earlier.
Right.
From the Southern Asia Pacific Division.
Yeah, I want to tell a little story about that because I was at the GC at the booth, and one of the leaders from the Indonesian conference came, and he was looking at that and seeing how much was red, and he's like, yeah, we don't have any churches here, we don't have any believers here. And I says, I'd love to send a team of videographers in there to document those people group, what they look like, what their needs. He says, yes, please send them. We will support you. We'll do everything, because their heart, a lot of these leaders that I see overseas, their heart is to reach to the unreached, but they feel like their hands are tied because they just don't have the resources to do it. Usually the church is a very poor church in these third world countries because the gospel is preached to the poor, right?
Right.
The poor are the ones that are most receptive to it. And so you raise up a poor church, and they're not able to move forward like we would like to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got another country to look at now.
Okay.
This is Thailand.
Okay.
So there's a lot of red ones in Thailand.
Yeah, they're kind of spread out, but it's not as densely populated a country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to look at one unreached people group in
Yes.
Thailand.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
This is the Lao Krong people group, and it's in the center of Thailand.
Okay.
It's a people that were brought over from Laos, 100 or more years ago. And as you can see with this graphic that focuses in on this people group, there's no work there of any kind. There's no one that's Christian there.
0% Christian.
Yeah, no resources, no Bible, no nothing. It's not a huge group, it's only 57,000. But what if my family was in that people group? Would I think it'd be worth it to go take the gospel to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've seen the unreached people groups, kind of an overview.
Cut the vision a little
And,
bit, maybe.
Yeah, seen maybe what's needed. What is one of the most effective ways to reach the unreached peoples?
Well, there's lots of different ways that it can be done, but what we have found is the most effective is partnering with our local Bible workers,
Okay.
opening up the opportunity for them to move in there and day by day live among the people. And there's not as many barriers because they're not coming in as wealthy people. They're not coming in as foreigners. They're coming in as locals. And so our Bible workers have definitely been the biggest blessing since we've started this ministry.
Okay, and we've got some goals or some challenges for ourselves for 2017
Yeah.
with Bible workers.
You know, I just came back from traveling through India again and seeing the impact of what they've done. Our dream is to double our workforce.
Okay, so right now we have about 200, 250 in India, Thailand, and the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay.
We would like to see 500 by the end of 2017.
Okay. Part of having the Bible workers is making sure they have the training they need to be able to go out and teach people about God in effective ways.
Right.
And I know that some of the units of the church in various areas that have Bible workers are training them. You know, on a frequent basis, they get together and they train in different subjects or different things. But we need more Bible worker training.
Correct. Yeah, the way that our Bible worker program works is that we work with the church very closely, and the funds go to the church, and then the local leaders of the local fields will then train the Bible workers and oversee the work. They've been asking us, can you please set up a training seminar, a training center to provide training for these Bible workers. That's their biggest need, and they've been asking us for many years. We just haven't had the faith to step out to do it.
Okay.
And this year, I believe, God is starting to move.
So that's one of our goals.
That's one of our dreams and our requests that we place in the Lord's hands every day.
Right, right. So part of this, though, once the Bible workers go to an area and they start teaching people about God, they need to have a place to meet.
Well, this is the issue that we're finding, because originally, as a ministry, we didn't focus on churches. We just wanted growth, and we wanted more people.
We just send the workers to seek.
Exactly.
For the lost.
And we've been doing that for the last 11 years, but we're finding this year especially is that we sense God leading to help build churches, because we have congregations that have been raised up and they don't have a place to worship. And we're going to look at some of those things. For instance, in Udamalpet, this is a church that we hold very dear to our hearts because we as a family went there when my daughter was 4 and my son was 6. And we did evangelism with 5 other teams in the surrounding small villages of a major city called Udamalpet. Can you say that 6 times in a row?
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah. The leadership in the area said, we have all these country churches, village churches, we don't have a city church in the main city. So he says, okay, let's do this. And so we raised up, 40 people were baptized. And now there's about the same number of people worshiping every single Sabbath, but they only have a house to worship in. That was 9 years ago that we did this evangelism. And for 9 years they've been meeting in rented halls, rented facilities. The members and the leadership just recently got together and purchased some property, but they still don't have a church. This next slide is a church in Assam. And I kind of get choked up when I talk about Assam because it is such a mission field. There are 32 million people in the state of Assam, which is in the northeast of India. We have 4 pastors, 4 Seventh-day Adventist pastors for 32 million people. And we're going to talk more about this in the future, so I don't want to spend too much time. But they requested, can you please give us 2 churches? We have property purchased in 2 different places. We need to build churches.
All right, and let's move on to the next area.
Yeah, Uttar Pradesh, this is the one that I was telling about. I don't have any pictures of the properties, but I just got an email just last week requesting from the pastor that had planted these churches in these different communities, 4 different communities. He's requesting. They purchased property, and this was like 2000 to 2004. So like
a long
over
time ago.
10 years ago, they purchased the property, but they haven't been able to use the property.
Oh.
So in that society, if you don't use the property, the government will come and say, you're not using it, you have to give it up. And so there's getting some encroachments from the local community starting to take over that property. And so he's begging, please, he's no longer a pastor in that area, but he's begging, please, can you help us, put up a wall, build a church, so we can, because the people are still there, there's still believers there, there's still a community of believers, there's just no place to worship, no church.
Wow.
So
that's a desperate need.
Yeah, that, it's one thing if you don't have believers and you're starting out brand new, but if it's another thing if you have believers and they've got no church and
more
they're
than
not
10
able.
years.
Yeah, a lot of these people are, earning maybe $1 or $2 or $3 a day.
Yeah.
How can they afford a church?
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's heavy. There's a lot of need out there.
It's a huge amount of need. But, if we all get together, do our part,
right,
the Lord will take that and multiply it and make a big impact.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about working with God on His projects.
That's correct.
Because He has this multiplication thing that only He can do.
That's right.
Okay, well, we want to talk not just about new buildings, but we want to talk also about the need for expansion of current buildings or purchasing buildings that are currently being rented, those kinds of things.
Yes.
So let's skip over to Mumbai.
Yes. Mumbai scarred me for life. I visited there just recently, and oh my word, what need. And I just want to go through really quick because we're going to spend a full show on Mumbai.
Okay.
But we're going to show some of the churches that we have. This is a church. It's the one with the red and the green. That's the church. And this is inside the church. You can see it's a thriving community. The story with this church.
Very crowded.
Yeah, and very lively and very sincere. Oh my, I love worshiping there. If I had a choice, every Sabbath morning I'd go worship there. This church was established and is still owned by a former non-Adventist congregation. One of our Bible workers' parents was living right next door to this church. And the pastor started studying with them and started learning about the new truths, and he became an Adventist, and he presented it to his church congregation, and they all became Adventists.
Wow.
And so then they felt called to plant a church in another area, so they left our Bible worker in charge of this group, of this church. We could then purchase this church from them for just a couple $1,000s. And we need to also then build a Bible worker accommodations on top, on the second floor of this church. And then the parents that originally started Bible studies with this previous pastor, their building collapsed.
Oh.
And so we need to help rebuild that for them.
Okay.
And so this is one of those places that would be very inexpensive, and it would really make a big difference.
Okay. And the next place is the Tani slum.
Yes. Now this is not a church. This is a slum area just looking down the street. There's no church there.
No.
We've had JFA Bible workers in that slum for quite a number of years, and they've done a wonderful job. I've got over 100 converts.
Wow.
But there's no regular place for them to meet. And so sometimes the Bible workers will pool their own income, their own meager income, and rent a place for a little while, but they can't sustain it. And so what we're praying for right now is to buy a place for our church members in that slum. Yeah.
Okay, well that is a good challenge too.
Yeah, it's a big need.
Those churches that we've just seen in Mumbai are not in central Mumbai.
No.
What's the situation? Is there a church in central Mumbai?
There's one church in downtown Mumbai. It was built back in the 40s by the original missionaries, and it's an English church.
It's at the section office.
Yes.
So we visited there. But that's an English church.
That's an English church.
And what's the majority language in Mumbai?
Marathi.
Marathi.
So
there's no Marathi church anywhere in Mumbai?
Not downtown.
Where's the nearest one?
The closest church to that church is 45-minute train ride away.
So how many people live in Mumbai?
Well, there's the Mumbai metropolis, which includes the surrounding areas and suburbs, and there's about 20 million people, about the size of New York. And then downtown Mumbai itself is 12 million people.
Okay.
So 12 million people.
One church in English.
Yes.
Okay. So the Lord gave you a vision.
Yes.
Or a idea or a faith challenge.
Yes, the Lord cast a vision, did some vision casting. Last day I was there, we were in the big church, and it's built in the 40s, so it looks kind of old, but we were there and we were taking pictures outside, and I just had this sense, wow, no other church in downtown Mumbai for 12 million people. Lord, we need another church like this. And I was
In their languages.
yeah, that would be good. And as I was talking to the Lord about this, he was like, $2 million. And so I was like, wow, I can't go that big, but what about one? And so I asked the president, if you had $1 million, could you build another church like this in Mumbai? And there's lots of places in the world where we've spent more than $1 million for one church, right? So that's not a big deal, right?
Well, and it's an expensive city. You never know. You don't know how much things cost there.
It's a cosmopolitan city, very expensive.
Right.
On a par, it's a world-class city. Okay. And so I asked him, could you build a church like this for $1 million? And we did some calculating the exchange rate and everything like that. And he looked at me and says, I could build 6.
So for $2 million,
we could have 12. So one church per 1 million people.
That would be great.
So this is the vision that God has placed on our hearts. And I know that he will provide because I feel so much joy and peace.
Well, it's a show full of challenges that we've had today.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's also a show full of prayer needs.
And opportunities.
Right.
And this season, this movie about Desmond Doss has come out. And it's inspiring many people. As he was on that escarpment, his prayer was, Lord, give me one more.
Many times we as a mission organization have prayed that same prayer.
Yes.
One more.
Yes.
Lord, one more. One more person who knows about you before it's too late. One more church. One more missionary. One more city. Just one more. One more person that comes forward and says, I can't go, but I can send. If the Lord has impressed you to be a part of this ministry, you can give your tax-deductible love gift to Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or check out our website at jesusforasia.org. May God bless you in this new year as we all seek one more for His sake.